Years later, an incredible event unfolded after this heroic mother dog rescued a snow leopard. Witnessing interspecies friendships is always heartwarming, but when such connections form between two traditionally antagonistic species, the enchantment reaches another level. Such was the case with a remarkable friendship between a mother dog and a snow leopard she had rescued. Snow leopards, classified as one of the world's most endangered big cat species, face a grave threat to their survival, with a mere 4,000 to 6,000 individuals remaining in the wild. These majestic creatures are relentlessly hunted for their exquisite fur, sought after for the creation of garments. In light of this disheartening reality, conservationists have been diligently working for numerous years to bolster snow leopard populations through breeding programs involving captive leopards residing in zoos worldwide. Thus, whenever a cub is born as a result of these breeding initiatives, it sparks immense excitement among conservationists. However, while scientists and breeders may rejoice, the same sentiments aren't always reciprocated by the animals involved. This truth became evident to a young cub who discovered this firsthand on an otherwise ordinary day at a zoo in Russia. Michael, entrusted with the responsibility of overseeing the snow leopard enclosure at the zoo, eagerly anticipated the arrival of a highly significant addition to the group. Among the leopards, Sasha carried the precious gift of life within her. As Sasha approached the final stages of her pregnancy, it was evident that the miraculous moment of birth was imminent. Mikkel had been watching over Sasha, waiting for the cub's arrival. Finally, during the night, the mama gave birth and an adorable male cub was born. The keeper couldn't be more thrilled. They had only had a handful of babies born at the zoo. So, for this cub to arrive healthy and unharmed was something that every one of the workers was excited about. Michael decided to name the cub Donia, which roughly translates to beloved one, as the animal was simply too adorable to dislike. Once Donia had been born and assessed by the vets to make sure that he was healthy, Michael decided to leave him and his mother alone so that they could bond and so that the cub didn't get too used to human contact. Little did he know things don't always work out the way that we hope. It was only a couple of days later that Michael noticed something very strange. He was on his way to feed Sasha and was excited to see the cub again. But when he got to the enclosure, the mama leopard was on her own. Instantly, Michael got worried. He knew that the tiny kitten wouldn't survive long without his mother to protect him from the cold and feed him, and the keeper was concerned that something terrible had happened to the baby animal to force the mother away from him. Wanting to reassure himself that everything was okay, Michael quickly searched for the cub while Sasha was distracted by her food. He found Donia curled up in the corner of the inside room, crying out for his mother. Relieved that the baby was still alive, Michael began to entice Sasha back into her inside room so that she would go back to her baby. The keeper thought that perhaps the mother had simply gotten hungry and couldn't wait for her food, so she had rushed out to meet him, temporarily leaving Donia. It's not uncommon for mama snow leopards to leave their babies in the den in the wild, as they still have to hunt for food. But instead of walking back over to her baby when she came inside, Sasha looked around as if searching for more food before trotting back to the outside part of her enclosure. This behavior had Michael increasingly worried. Sasha was showing no signs of being interested in being a mother. The keeper thought that he would give her a few more chances. He tried everything that he could think of to get her to interact with her baby and take care of him, but the female leopard wasn't bothered in the slightest. The final straw for Michael, though, was when Sasha looked as if she might attack her cub. Having placed Donia near her and locking them both in the inside section of the enclosure, Sasha had gotten agitated and had begun to hiss and bare her teeth at the baby leopard. Seeing that he had no other choice, as Donia wouldn't survive otherwise, Michael had to intervene and take the baby animal away from his mother. Now that the keeper had a new problem on his hands, who was going to look after and raise the baby leopard? He didn't want a human hand rearing him if possible, as it could potentially lead to the baby becoming dependent on humans, which wasn't safe for him if he was ever to be returned to the wild. At first, Michael tried asking around some other zoos to see if there had been any recent snow leopard births. If so, he could send Donia to the mother, and hopefully she would raise him as her own on top of her own cub. Unfortunately, no other snow leopard had given birth recently, and so Michael was back to square one. It was at this point, though, that he realized that there was an animal shelter not too far from the zoo. The keeper quickly called up the shelter to ask if they had any dogs who had just given birth. Luckily they did. Michael was overjoyed at the news. He asked if he could foster out the mama and her pups so that she could nurse the baby leopard as well. The shelter staff member was willing to give it a try, but they told him that the animals would still be up for adoption once the puppies were of age to be separated from their mother. The next day, the mama dog called Rosie and her puppies arrived at the zoo. It was decided that the animals would be kept there so that Michael could keep an eye on them and Donia. Once the canines were settled into their temporary home, it was time to introduce the leopard. The keeper was quite nervous about this, as he was worried that something would go wrong or that the mother dog would reject the feline. Luckily, all of his fears were quickly put to rest. The baby leopard and the dog got along instantly. Rosie was more than happy to let Donia nurse with her puppies, and she didn't treat him any different to her other babies. It looked like everything would work out. For the next few months, Rosie and her puppies lived at the zoo with Donia. They all got along like one big happy family. However, the strongest bond was between the mama dog and the leopard. Over the time that she had been looking after him, Rosie had clearly come to care for Donia quite a lot. They would always play together whenever they could and loved to chase each other around. The most endearing sight was witnessing the duo curl up together at night, with Rosie seemingly watching over Donia as he slept. However, as time passed, Rosie's puppies were gradually adopted by loving families, leaving her as the sole remaining member. Eventually, the shelter staff contacted Michael, informing him that a family had expressed interest in adopting Rosie. The separation between the mother dog, Rosie, and Donia, the snow leopard, became inevitable. As Rosie embarked on her journey towards a new life, Donia expressed his longing with sorrowful whines. Despite reaching an age where he could fend for himself and consume solid food, Donia couldn't bear the absence of his adoptive mother. Similarly, Rosie shared the same sentiment, ensuring she bid farewell to the leopard with a gentle lick on his nose. Time passed, and Donia sank into a profound depression, yearning for his canine mother and longing to see her once more. However, amidst his distress, something extraordinary transpired. Michael, moved by Donia's anguish, reached out to Rosie's owner, suggesting a visit to the zoo. Initially apprehensive about the potential risks involved, the owner hesitated, yet after some persuasion they agreed. The following day, Rosie returned to the zoo, eagerly racing towards Donia's enclosure. Upon spotting the dog, Donia leaped up and rushed to greet her, filled with pure joy and excitement. Michael and Rosie's owner observed the heartwarming reunion between the two creatures, witnessing their profound love and the sorrow they experienced during their separation. Throughout the day, Rosie and Donia joyfully engaged in their playful antics, reminiscent of their past chase-filled encounters within the enclosure. Rosie, despite the challenge of tending to a leopard twice her size, diligently groomed her feline friend. Eventually, as exhaustion took over, they nestled together and slept, relishing their long-awaited togetherness. In that moment, Rosie's owner realized that keeping these two inseparable beings apart was no longer an option. He vowed to bring Rosie to visit Donia as frequently as possible. From that day forward, Rosie and Donia met at least once a week, showcasing their unwavering bond of genuine love and affection. Remarkably, both animals emerged from their despondency, eagerly anticipating each subsequent reunion. What a heartwarming tale! Share your thoughts on this touching story in the comments section below. We'd love to hear your perspective. Thank you.